So this week's tractor story is a last minute change of plans. It's a substitution. This week's tractor story is about my 8200 and probably the most important tractor in the history of my farm. Not my family farm, this is my farm. I guess my wife and my kids, but this 8200 is probably the tractor that has made it what it is now. So I was on my way to Iowa to do the tractor story. It was a celebrity tractor story here this Friday. But due to the blizzard down there, the snowstorm up here, I got part way down and they were shutting down roads where this tractor story was at. It's a celebrity one, so I won't tell you who it is right now, but it's a celebrity tractor story. So it was a little late in the day to try and round up somebody else, and it would have been pretty rushed anyways, and it's a snowstorm up here. They're talking it could be a blizzard like up here, I don't know. But I thought this is a good time to do my 8200. So for those of you that aren't familiar with my farm operation, like through TikTok or something, I grain farm, I do drain tiling, and I used to dairy farm. I dairy farmed when I was younger on my own, and I grew up dairy farming. Our area here in far western Wisconsin was a lot of farming like that. So when I sold my cows, I wanted to continue to run my land, and I did, but I knew I needed to do something else. I didn't have enough acres, and did other things, started the tiling business. But I went from dairy farming to this crop farming, and things changed. When I dairy farmed, you know, tractors were smaller and they needed to be able to do a lot more 540 stuff and just not the same kind of work. And I always say my favorite tractor of all time is 4440 John Deere. And I love those tractors. And when I sold my cows, I had a 4455 and a 44, what's here? No, at that time, I had a 4320, 4240, ended up 4450, 4455 after the cows left. And I was gonna start this tiling business. And I wanted a tractor that could pull the tile plow and a tractor that could do all my farm work. And I love these 44s. Over the years, I've had a lot of 44s, different ones. And I got rid of the 4450 and the 4455 to get that 8200. And the idea with the 8200 was that it could pull a tile plow for me and just do some work to help pay for the equipment. And then it could do my field work. And what I found was your ability to run more acres was so much better with the 8200 than it was with these two-wheel drive 4450s and 4455s. It was nicer to run, but it was a tractor that made you want to do more. And even if you didn't have more acres to do, you could do more tiling or more of something else to try and grow the farm. And I was comfortable with the 44s. I loved those tractors, but the 8200 is what made me want to grow the farm and grow my tiling business. And it's been a great tractor. Very little have I had to do to it. It's now over 9,000 hours. It's original paint. The decals were replaced because the hood decals were chipping and cracking out, but from being washed. But it's been a great tractor. And like I said, that is so important that you had a tractor that left you going, I could do more work. Where if somebody offered you more ground when you had two-wheel drive 44s and you're a one-man show, you're like, I don't know if I can get all that done. Where at the 8200, I was like, yeah, I can do that. that allowed me to get a bigger corn planter than I had, a bigger field cultivator, and work ground in places that you probably weren't going with your two-wheel drive. It wasn't my first front-wheel assist. I had a hydraulic front 4240 before that was front-wheel assist, and it worked. And that was a good tractor. And the 8200 was my first mechanical front-wheel assist tractor. I had driven them before for other people, but it was my first. And boy, that 8200 really, really just was awesome. So the 8200 here is a late serial number 1995. 4 remotes, 18,446s, 14,946 fronts. It has just over 9,000 hours on it. I have owned it since February of 2012. I sold my cows in August of 2008, and this came along in 2012. That's when I started custom tiling, was in 2012. Now, I did custom tile with the 8200 at first, and it worked. You had to be real cautious while you were tiling. It just wasn't capable as much, but if you were just going to do your own stuff, it worked. I ended up with a lot of tile work, and I bought a 4-wheel drive tractor to keep on the tile plow, and then I ended up buying a commercial tile plow a few years after that. And that's where we are today. But it did pull the tile plow, and then it got everything else done around the farm. So when I had 44s, I had a 4450 and a 4455 two-wheel drive at the time. One would do one thing, one would do the other. This I was hooking and unhooking, and I still got a lot of work done that way. And if I remember right, I paid $72,500 for it at the time, but they gave me pretty big money on trade for the 4455. So I figured the actual price I paid probably closer to $65,000. It had 7258 hours on it at the time. I bought it from Duran Implement in Duran, Wisconsin. It was sold brand new in Mondovi, Wisconsin. So it's been a Western Wisconsin tractor its whole life, but it sure doesn't look like a dairy farm tractor. Like I said, that's original paint. I wax it. I've never buffed this tractor. The weights on it are 150 pounders that I had brackets made, and I would stack wheel weights out to here for tiling. I also would fill up the front weight bracket, and I would bolt weights to the outside here. So I guess my suitcase weights aren't in here anymore, but it worked. But what a nice 8200. Like I said, 4 remotes, AM, FM, cassette. Still the original Delco radio that it came with. It has just been good. And what's funny with this tractor was I always figured this would be the one that I would trade off and get something newer. And I haven't. When people say, what's your favorite tractor? I say, 4440, But this is the tractor that got me, here. It took me from a dairy farm to crop farming. And I'm not a big farmer, but I bought a lot of ground versus what I owned when I dairy farmed. And this tractor really made a difference. It just always runs. It's always worked. Pulled a 12-row corn planter. Now it just does. I've cut back on the tillage. So this doesn't do a lot of tillage anymore. It plows all the snow in the winter, which is probably going to get used here this weekend. But the 8225R now took over the planting duty. I always wanted an 8225R. I thought I'd trade the 8200 off on one of these, but we've kept the 8200 and traded a different tractor off. So when people talk about reliability, these 8000 series are probably right up there with anything any tractor company has ever manufactured. they just kind of work. You take care of them, and they don't give a lot of problems. I'm trying to think what I've had to do to it. Let's see here. I put an alternator on it. I put 2 sensors on it total, which I did myself, didn't have to have it diagnosed. A turbocharger. I did put a turbo on it, and front hub seals for the front wheel assist. But she's got over 9,000 hours on it. And it's an earlier one. You can tell the earlier ones because of the hood stripe. The later 8000 series looked like a 7810 for the stripes on the hood. They did a few updates to the transmission on the later ones, but this one's been calibrated and it's always shifted good. This has a 7.6 liter versus the later ones had an 8.1 liter. And I don't know, the 7.6 has been great. It doesn't start awesome, but it'll start. It's a good tractor. I do really love this tractor. And it's kind of become sort of part of the family now. Next to my 856 and the 720, this would be the tractor that I've owned the longest of all of them. So it's a very important tractor, and I can't stress enough how critical this was to keeping things going. If I would have bought this, had major problems, I wouldn't have been able to buy a second tractor to go tiling with. And that wouldn't have led me to more work. And I wouldn't have been able to run more ground because I didn't have time. And this tractor was there for it. So I know it's not as old as some of them, and I've got tractors that are older. You know, that's a 1981. We've got a 1958 and a 1969 in the other shed, but this has been the really important one. I guess that one's a 77, so. But if I had her plugged in, this is real last minute. I was just about to Iowa when we had to turn around. I would fire it up for you guys and take it for a spin, but the 7.6 liter 8000 series bark, they sound really nice. So I would put this tractor up with reliability with any series of tractor ever built. And I think that is, I would say it's reflected in the resale value of these tractors. So I can't think of, you know, a more revolutionary tractor. This tractor did more to tractors even than the 4010 did. It changed. If you look at this tractor today, if you look at the wasp waist design where they made it narrower, raised the engine up for turning and visibility, and the control arm with all the controls and the functions with the corner post display, every tractor today is based off of the 8000 series John Deere. This changed agriculture when it came out. So very important tractor. So I'm sorry that I had to do a video on me, but maybe some of you guys will like this. You guys that aren't on TikTok, you know, probably don't see me as much and maybe didn't know much about this tractor. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and, you know, and I'll sprinkle in stories about some of my other tractors. This 4440 is probably one of the nicest in the country. The man that I bought it from, it's named after him, and I would like to talk to his son when we do the story of this tractor. So eventually we'll talk about Clifford the 4440. I feel bad, the snow is actually blowing in through the roof onto him, but anyway. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Yeah, I don't know. My 8200 has just been one of those tractors that builds, it makes a farm. Tractors like that make a farm. So, heck, it was in my wedding. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll get back to regular Friday tractor stories, and we'll get the celebrity one here. We're going to do a couple celebrity ones this winter. So, thank you very much. I really appreciate all the the views and the subscribers. This is something that I really enjoy doing. It means something to me to get these stories out. So thank you very much. You guys have a good one.